Hello everyone, welcome back to a Megon 2 Electric Boogaloo. Today I'd like to talk about the creator, the influencer, the presenter, the unemployed Frosk, formerly of G4 TV. Somebody so infamous that they contributed, not that they are the main catalyst, to G4 TV's demise of sorts. Although I would argue all channels go through a rise, a plateau and a fall, G4 TV is no exception to this. So it was inevitable she merely contributed towards its acceleration, and she did so with a rant on sexism in video games that was enabled by the people around her, some of whom during that very rant, while looking uncomfortable, didn't try and stop her and are in charge of G4 TV, which speaks volumes about either how cucked they were or how much they believe that what she is saying is absolutely accurate. And I'm going to play a clip of that now.
But I actually want to talk about something so much more important than Red Dead Online. Sexism in gaming. In joining G4...
This is not where I thought we were going, but I'm here.
I had no idea.
I'm listening. Yeah.
In joining G4, I was ecstatic to be part of something that I grew up watching as a child. But every time G4 is brought up in various channels, even in this YouTube channel, we have the chat in front of us, I can see you, without a doubt, there will be backlash because I'm not as bangable as the previous host. It's somehow...
Talk to him, Frosk!
It has somehow been expected that you can talk about how much you jerked off to women as a compliment. It's not a compliment.
It's weird.
You don't need to explicitly objectify women or declare that you hate women to be sexist.
Now what's really interesting is that rant was covered by so many people. It was released 9 months ago, to the point comments were turned off, understandably so, because let's face it, she's not exactly the nicest person in the world. G4 TV, for those who don't know, normally upload clips to a G4 TV Clips channel. They also livestream on a regular basis on the G4 TV channel itself. These live streams, for the size of the channel, don't do that well, getting as many views as I get. The one main thing you'll notice if you ever look at their channel is there's a lot of content missing. I can't help but wonder why. Now, as the channel continued to decline and money started to dry up, those in charge realized they need to start shoring up their defenses and making sure that they are as safe monetarily as they can be going forward. So to do this, they had to, well, initiate some cutbacks. These cutbacks in turn led to many people being laid off, and Frosk, well, being the absolute moron that she is, decided to celebrate that she was not one of those on the chopping board. In the exhibition of Stupid People number 196, I discussed this because it tickled me to no end, and I'm going to play a clip of that now. G4 TV. If you don't know who they are, their more noteworthy contribution to the online sphere recently comes from Indiana Black, aka G4 host Frosk, who tweeted out, "Let's play some games, yo," with a meme underneath, "I survive," which initially meant very little to me until I saw a tweet from the quartering with the image of this. Imagine tweeting this the day after massive layoffs that in no small part are your fault directly. Recently, G4 TV announced sweeping staff cuts. 3 sources familiar with the business who spoke to Kotaku estimated somewhere between 20 and 30 staff members were laid off on September the 14th. These staff cuts took many by surprise, with many even showing up to set with the understanding that they would be working as normal, only to be met with both the news that they had their respective programs cancelled and one-on-one layoff discussions with the network's HR staff. It is believed that G4 TV for the most part had been in a rough financial shape for a fair bit. How does this tie into Frosk, you ask? Well, she did a rant talking about sexism in gaming. This rant was the most out-of-touch, inaccurate representation of the issues within gaming. So many people believe that Frosk is one of the direct reasons this failed. The thing is, a year earlier, Russell Aarons, a former G4 president, had abandoned the ship when they were facing financial hardship. She had tried to turn things around and it didn't work. So things were already struggling at the time, but a nail in the coffin, Frosk certainly contributed towards. Understandably, people are quite cross with Frosk for this. Now there are 2 interpretations of Frosk's tweet. One is dabbing on the haters, which is more than likely what Frosk intended. However, because so many people lost their jobs, it can also be seen as you taking a large dump on them. And unless they're into sket, I don't think that is what they would have wanted. Nor would they have wanted the severance, they would have wanted to keep their jobs. But it's also believed that G4 TV had, even with multiple presidents and vice presidents leaving and coming and going and blah blah blah, had no sense of direction. If you don't know where you're going, you as a team cannot work to succeed. Strive forward and be better as a group. When one person stands up and says, "Look at me," you derail the entire conversation or you derail the entire brand. Now granted, channels come and go, that is a fact. But if you build a business, your job is to continue being one. G4 TV is no exception to this. Right now, they are a sinking ship. So optics are key, something which Frosk really needs to learn something about. FYI, Frosk was fired not long after. That salt, that karma, delicious. That should all catch you up as to who Frosk is and how well Frosk is received considering she is completely tone deaf to optics, and I don't know, not being a complete twat. These comments are also a form of foreshadowing, because Frosk can't help but continue to be a complete and utter moron. For this we now insert Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill for the past 3 seasons has worked on the Netflix's adaptation of The Witcher, which beyond season 1 has kind of fallen off, because it hasn't remained true to the source material, which has been a bone of contention for Henry Cavill, someone who, as everyone knows, is a big muscular nerd. Nothing wrong with that. The muscles are just added because of, Henry Cavill, okay? His departure from this has seemed like an opportunity for Frosk to pounce on Henry Cavill because he is, to her, problematic. The reason why is because, well, he has said some, to her, rather questionable things. Being quoted on Twitter as saying, Henry Cavill said some very questionable things surrounding Me Too, and dating a 19-year-old as a 30-plus-year-old man, seeing people throw themselves at his feet for The Witcher is weird, the show is whatever at best. The comments that Henry Cavill had made concerning Me Too were in GQ Australia, where he said it's important to also retain the good things, which were a quality of the past, and get rid of the bad things. There is something wonderful about a man chasing a woman. There's a traditional approach to that, which is nice. I think a woman should be wooed and chased, but maybe I'm old-fashioned for thinking that. It's very difficult to do that if there are certain rules in place, because then it's like, well, I don't want to go up and talk to her because I'm going to be called a rapist or something. So you're like, forget it. I'm going to call an ex-girlfriend instead and then just go back to a relationship which never really worked. But it's way safer than casting myself into the fires of hell, because I'm someone in the public eye, and if I go and flirt with someone, then who knows what's going to happen. Now you really can't pursue someone further than no. It's like, okay, cool. But then there's the, oh, why'd you give up? And it's like, well, because I don't want to go to jail. On to the second aspect of that tweet. 19-year-old and 30 plus. Who cares? Do you know why? Because that involves 2 consenting adults. I couldn't care less. I didn't care when Hugh Hefner had a Playboy bunny, and I don't care when it's the other way round. I really don't. There's no reason to care. Do you know why? Because it doesn't make him a groomer, which is how this tweet can be interpreted, as you trying to make it seem like he is to you a groomer because somehow a 19-year-old is not an adult. Somebody had pointed out, so he was in a consensual adult relationship? Horrifying. To which Frosk replied, weird way to out yourself, lol. As someone who is 31, I can't imagine ever dating a teenager. We are in vastly different life stages, so while it's maybe legal, many of those relationships are pretty icky with power imbalance. Generally, girls who are younger go for guys that are older because the mental age seems to fall handily in line. It doesn't usually go the other way round. That's not to say it doesn't, it just doesn't usually. This is basic biochemistry and maturity. Surely you would know this, or are you a science denier? My friend Undoomed had replied, children can decide transition, but 19-year adults can't date other adults. To which underneath, she's right though. The show is whatever at best, probably because it was geared more towards drawing in people like her who didn't give a poop about video games and the stories behind them and need to see themselves represented to the detriment of the story and canon. But that's not the aspect that she's Are you stupid? Also, she's not right. Later on, she had tweeted out, a lot of dudes out here thinking dating a teenager when you're 33 is totally fine because it's legal. Yeah, it can be fine, but it can also be pretty effed up, pretty effing quick. A lot of self-reports. As someone underneath supporting you has written the word technically, so I'm not going to respond with the word technically and simply say, oh no, I'm going to use it now. Technically, you're an idiot. There is nothing wrong with an age gap unless you are trying to gatekeep for what is a remotely acceptable age range for anyone to date anyone. I assume you kept the same energy for the likes of Zach Braff and his previous partners, Florence Pugh being the more notable, or perhaps the same energy for Billie Eilish and her ex who was also in his 30s and knew her when she was 17. You, Frosk, are latching onto something, courting controversy to retain some kind of notoriety, I guess?